All right, so I brought in this same texture, but because it's over the doodle, that color obviously makes it impossible to see the humility. There we go. So the stroke helps, but how can I get this texture to work? Because when I try something like overlay mode, it will let the color come through underneath. And I think I use soft light on the one above. Try that. And that's just a little different. Yeah, so I think that's working pretty well. And I like the overlay. I like the little bit more color in there. Now remember, this is all based on your different layers and your use of layer styles and your overlays, your multiplies, your screens, whatever effects you want. That's how my background was made as well. So this is a kind of a strange poster, using the index card as the background. You can also use different borders. But let me show you something that might be more typical of a poster. So let me save this work, and let me look for a poster background online. Right? Let me do a Google search, for instance. Or let's see, just poster texture fill. Let's see what they give me. Okay, so I have lots of just scans of paper. I have some halftones. All of these things can be useful. I have something that's really multicolored. I have wood grain, bamboo, cement, chalkboard, flooring, all of these things that are put up to play with by designers. Basically, you want to know if your background is lighter than your illustration or darker than your illustration. And then you want to be careful it doesn't become too colorful. So I like this one, this folded paper. So let me save a few of these. These are 8 megabytes or larger, or 8 megapixels or larger. It's always good to check their quality. There we go. And then this one shows a classic approach, which is called vignetting. But it looks like that link is broken. So I'll use this one instead to show you, or this one. So vignetting is when the edges of the frame are either lighter or darker than the center, right? And so if you use it, I'll show you how you can augment that if you like. So let's bring some of this stuff in. Let's go to my background and just give me some more options here. So there's my background file. I'm going to move this on top of it. To me, anything is better than plain white. So it looks like now this is folded paper, on top of everything. I could set it to overlay. I could set it to soft light and see if it has much effect. It does this nice thing of kind of lightening everything, which might help my spot illustration stand out. And it puts that little crease in the middle, which is kind of pleasing. That's a very subtle background. Right. So let's bring in something else, maybe a little bit more extreme. Let's play with halftone dots. And let's stretch them. This is extreme, right? We can do it that way. I can duplicate it, and we can flip it, transform, and flip vertical. Kind of like that. And then I can try multiple modes of it, right? Where it kind of comes through, breaks up my image. Overlay is interesting. Soft light is interesting. Maybe it's a little distracting. I'm actually pretty curious about what this would do. Or this. That. Ooh. So you can really explore your layer styles, right? And then, of course, you can play with the opacity of it. So maybe I make this a lot more subtle. I kind of like that. Okay, and now vignetting. You see how this is darker at the edges than it is in the middle? I'm going to roughly line it up to my background. Looks like it's printed on a paper bag. That's cool. And that way I can use its vignetting at the edges. Seeing these different options. Huh. And of course I can play with its opacity as well. So how do you vignette if you just want to do it for yourself? You simply use the burn tool or the dodge tool around the edges. So for this one, I'm going to burn the midtones around 30% with the big soft brush, but in order to do that, I have to rasterize it first. Let's make my brush even bigger. I just hit the edges, deepen them a little bit. And then you see, if each of these things that you're adding is actually adding value and visual interest or not. And you kind of make sure. Let me see. The top part of my background should be there. So I need to bring it up. So I'm going to bring my card down, I think, actually. So use my background folder, then I'm just going to transform that whole thing and move it down. So it lines up. And these are the files that get really large because they're combining vector text, they're combining color solutions and spot illustrations all together. but you want them large while you're in Photoshop, while you're trying to figure out different possibilities. So I like this one, but I'm going to try get rid of all the black space, and then that might give me some interesting new options, right? Just have those. And let me cut out the space around them as well. So let me go to my stained paper layer, select the empty shape around it, and then cut that out. There we go. So I'm using halftone dots in a few different ways with my background now. And I don't want it to be black. I don't even want it to be fully opaque. I don't want it to be gray or white. So what do I want it to be? Well, let's see. Yeah, that's interesting. I can give it a color overlay. You know, maybe I want to give it a gradient overlay instead. Yeah, something like that. Then really lower the opacity. There's just so many options to play with for your poster. So you want to have fun with it. Make it your own. I wonder what would happen if I add a stroke. Yeah, I like what that does, especially around the middle. Little dots. Stretch the whole thing up just a tiny bit. There we go. Stretch it to the side just a tiny bit. Do check the edges, because this is a poster image, and so everything matters, not just the center of it. And if we print this on the big paper, you want to make sure you know what you're printing. Okay, and then the last step is that I can take all those background features together, then hold down Option, say Layer, Merge Layers, while holding down Option, and it will flatten all of that background into one layer on top. Right? And the reason I want that is I want to cut out the index card shape from all of them. Right? So this is my merged background. Find my index card, select the empty space around it. Oops, want contiguous on for that.